to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the heated exchange between Mel Kiper and Todd Mcshay regarding Daniel Jones, our hopefully future franchise quarterback, something that Todd Mcshay refuses to admit. But before I get started on the video, as I always like to do when you guys give me ideas for videos, and I was thinking about doing this, decided not to, but whenever you guys ask me that you want something to do, especially when it's a dead time and there's not a lot to talk about, we're waiting on the combine, we're waiting on the draft, we're waiting on free agency, this was an interesting thing to listen to, and I'm going to play the audio clip, and we'll talk about what I gathered from that, and you guys in the comments can talk about it as well. But here's what Michael had to say. Hey, Chris, have you seen Todd Mcshay and Mel Kiper debating over Daniel Jones? Todd McShay still saying Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback, and Mel called him a delusional hater. If so, can you make a video on it? And like I said, I always try to make videos that you guys are potentially interested in. And it was definitely a very heated exchange. And it was nice to hear that one of these ESPN analysts have our quarterbacks back. Mel Kiper, of course, was a pretty big Daniel Jones fan. And I'm always the first to say, on draft night, I was not a fan of taking Daniel Jones. Okay, 17, I would have been fine with it, but not at number 6. I was not happy. But like a rational person, after it happened, I sat back 2 days later and said, I got to give this guy a chance. I got to get behind this guy and hope he works out for the New York Giants, and hopefully Dave Gettleman made the right decision. Now, I won't go as far to say just yet that Dave Gettleman made the right decision. There's a lot that still has to be taken into account. We have to see the progression of Jones's career. We have to see how he does year 1 to year 2 with a new offensive coordinator. But I will say, after year 1, it at least does not look like a bad pick, and it looks like it could be a very good one. He certainly displayed a lot of the physical tools that you would want a quarterback to have. He comes from a good upbringing. He learned from the same head coach as Eli Manning. He's got a strong enough arm. As a matter of fact, I thought that was an underrated attribute. Needs to work on reading defenses. He's mobile. He makes throws into tight windows. Matter of fact, he was one of the highest graded quarterbacks in that aspect. And part of that may have had to do with the fact that his receivers did not create a lot of separation. As good of a slot receiver as Golden Tate is, he's not a guy that creates a lot of separation. He displayed that he could throw the deep ball with Darius Slayton, and I'm excited to see what he could do in a new offense. And the guy nearly broke the touchdown record for a rookie. I think he had like 23 or 24, and he only played in 12 games. So Daniel Jones showed a lot last year. He showed that there was a lot to build off of, especially when you factor in a lot of the players that were out. His best offensive weapon, Saquon Barkley, missed half the season, essentially. I know he only missed like 3 or 4 games, but he wasn't himself for like half the season. Golden Tate with the suspension. Darius Slayton was hurt early on. Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, everybody was banged up. And not to mention, his offensive line was atrocious. So his support system just wasn't there, and he still performed fairly well. Pretty well, if you ask me. The fumbling we know the pocket awareness and the fumbling needs to be improved. That's something that needs to be focused on in the offseason. But the guy still had a pretty strong rookie year when you take everything into account. But McShay continues to bash on this guy. I made a video about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I don't know if it was after the year or as the end of the year was approaching. McShay said that the Giants' biggest need at the number 4 pick was a quarterback after the year that Daniel Jones had. The guy just does not want to admit he's wrong, and there's a lot of people in life and in the media that are like that. I still, obviously not after this year, but there were still people saying that Mahomes wasn't as good as people were saying. It's any player. There's always going to be people who are not willing to bend on their initial impression. And this is no different, in my opinion. This is the same thing here where McShay will not admit he was wrong, and Mel Kiper calls him out for it. And I was glad that Kiper did. I don't always like Mel Kiper, but in this instance, it was a pleasure to hear what he said and him essentially backing up the New York Giants' decision to take Daniel Jones. But I wanted to play the audio clip for you guys in case you haven't heard it. And it's actually a very interesting, heated exchange between both Mel Kiper and McShay. So let's play it.
Have a franchise quarterback. So now they just have to build the line. So then we'll say,
according to Mel Kiper.
Well, according to anybody that watches the Giants, except Todd, and you, let's face it, you didn't like him coming in, so you're gonna ride this false narrative through his career and always never give the kid credit.
It is honestly one of the most surprising things that, and it shouldn't be because I've worked with you for so long now, going on 15 years.
Right.
Too long.
It still is so shocking to me because I thought this was going to be an easy one. Like, it was rookie year, but he clearly didn't play as well as I thought.
He played unbelievable.
I'm worried. I just assumed. I assumed that was that was going to be the narrative.
And you
were going to come crawling back to me saying, I hope year 2 is better.
Are you delusional?
No,
I mean, you got to be dreaming
honestly
delusional
think you're
or
delusional.
drinking something other than your bottle
guys,
of water.
I honestly think you're delusional if we watch the same game.
If we go back and watched every Giant game and saw the throws he made,
I think you should have to. It might be our summer
we're going to
show.
have. I'd say, what are you looking at? And you can say the same to me. Tell me, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, because if I'm looking at the Giants week after week with what this kid had to deal with receivers in and out,
we spend plenty of time alone in that green room. I'd love to watch it.
I want to go back to every game and every snap, because if you came out of that season saying that Daniel Jones was not as good as you thought he would be, then I can't argue with it, because that's your opinion.
Wow. And there you have it. There was the exchange between the two. And, yeah, McShay, he called him out for it. He called him delusional. He called him lost. And I liked hearing it because I do think that McShay is incredibly overly biased when it comes to Daniel Jones. And it's not just McShay. It's a lot of people in the media. It's PFF. They still have him ranked, I think, like 25th or 26th. And it's all right. As New York Giants fans, we are used to it. Eli Manning, after he even won his second Super Bowl, continued to have haters in the Giants fan base and in the media. So that just comes with the territory when you're the New York Giants quarterback, and it comes with the territory when you're an unexpected draft pick, specifically at that position. But I think it's part of the charm of Daniel Jones. I think it's part of the reason why New York Giants fans back this guy and like him as much as we do. We want him to go out there and prove the haters wrong. And listen, man, I was one of his biggest critics the night of the draft. I'm the first to say it. But I came around, I gave the kid a chance, and I'm going to continue to give the kid a chance. And year one, he proved a lot of people wrong with that draft pick, including myself. And hopefully year two, he continues to do so. And hopefully what Todd Mcshay only fuels to the fire for Daniel Jones. Hopefully he only gets better. But I loved hearing what Kiper said, because to be honest with you, I don't even know if McShay believes half the things coming out of his mouth. I mean, he went on to saying that, he basically said, I thought after watching his rookie year, Kiper, that you would have agreed with me, that you would have said, yeah, it was his rookie year, but it was disappointing. How in the world was it disappointing when you take everything into account? When you factor in the fact that everybody was banged up and the guy still had 23 or 24 touchdowns for a team that wasn't that good. They were a bad football team with a bad offensive line. Daniel Jones single-handedly won the Tampa Bay Bucs game, and he played well down the stretch. Threw 4 touchdowns against the Jets. Yes, I know against better competition he struggled, which is what some of his biggest critics have pointed to. But you could say the same thing about a lot of quarterbacks early on in their career. You usually don't take the biggest jump until year 2 or even year 3. Daniel Jones got off to a nice start in his career. That's what should be said right now. We should not be bashing this guy and saying that the Giants' biggest draft need is a quarterback. In my opinion, he's not doing his job, and he's just being biased because he's trying to prove that he was right when, at least up to this point in time, he was wrong. Now, I can't predict the future. He could be a flop. Baker Mayfield this year was incredibly disappointing in year 2. I can't say that won't be Daniel Jones, but I'm encouraged by the kid. I like that he's a hard worker. I like that he's smart, and I think Jason Garrett will only help him going forward. We'll see what the Giants do this offseason, and hopefully he continues to prove Mel Kiper right and Todd McShay wrong. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.